Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we've got a fun one. We are going to be digging into some old favorite affordable makeup products. I went through my collection and grabbed some things that have been very neglected that I haven't used for a while. A couple things I actually have never used. I've had them for a while but just haven't used them yet. A lot of fall appropriate makeup in here. A blush that I was initially very intimidated by, but I absolutely love it. Have an eyeshadow palette in here today that I literally pulled out of the very back of my eyeshadow bin. I cannot believe I forgot about this palette because it is so good, so perfect for fall. That and a lot of other fun stuff today, so hopefully you guys are excited about it. For those of you that are new to my channel, a special welcome to you. I hope that you enjoy this one. If you do, be sure to give it a thumbs up and of course hit that subscribe button before you leave. But we do have a lot of makeup to get on, so let's jump right into it. Alright guys, here is my bin. I even have my drugstore brushes out. We are going all drugstore, all affordable today. So I want to kick things off with a little bit of primer. We're going to go in with the Milani Soft Focus Glow. It is like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's been a long time since I did my skincare today. I definitely need the added layer of moisturizer. This really is a great product. It separates a little bit, which I've always kind of complained about, but on the skin, once you get it on, it looks and feels really, really nice. And now we're going to jump into foundation. We're going to go in with the Milani Conceal and Perfect Foundation. I pulled this out in a recent video and was reminded of how much I love this foundation. It is a very thick foundation. I'm using the shade 03 today. Mine is actually, the pump's broken, so I have to kind of swipe it on the back of my hand, which always makes it hard to gauge how much product I'm getting. Most of the time I end up getting way too much product out, but we are going to be using a sponge today, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue. I'm going to take my Real Techniques sponge. Probably should pin my hair back. I'm going to kind of start off by just kind of dabbing that on my face. Hopefully this shade will match me okay. I do really like this sponge, but I'll be honest with you guys, what I like about this sponge more than anything is how cute it is. It's not my favorite feeling sponge. It's not quite as soft as my Focalure or my L'Oreal sponges. Those are probably my favorites as far as how bouncy and soft they are. This one is still really good though. It does a good job of applying foundation. You can just feel a little bit more texture on this one than say my L'Oreal sponge. That one is so smooth feeling on the outside. But if nothing else, it's affordable and it's cute. So for those two reasons alone, I would recommend it. Alright, now before I go in with my concealer, I'm going to add a little bit of eyeshadow primer. This is just from Profusion. This is their No Budge Eye Primer. It's decent. It's not quite as good as the Wet n Wild one in my opinion, but it's not too bad. Alright, now let's add some concealer. Starting off with this one, this is the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Full Coverage Concealer. I have mine in the shade Light 34. It's a really good shade match for the perimeter of my face, other than in the dead of winter when I'm very, very pale. Just yesterday, actually, I was doing my makeup and thought to myself, wow, my skin has been looking so good for like 3 weeks. I haven't had a single blemish. Apparently I didn't knock on wood soon enough because the very next day I woke up and I had like 3 blemishes right here along my jawline. I think I slept without my hair pulled up and it was really dirty. I'm guessing that's what happened. So I do want to add a different concealer to my under eye area. My eyelids, I'm going to use the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer. I have it in the shade Neutralizer. It's been a while since I've used this one. It is a little bit light for me in the summertime, but I love this as an under eye concealer. It's super, super thin, but it has really good coverage for how thin of a concealer formula it is. Okay, let's add a little bit of powder. I'm going to just take my Rimmel Stay Matte powder. I'm going to grab, I'm just going to take this brush right here. This is from Cala. I think I got this at Marshalls or TJ Maxx. I'm just going to dust this all over my lids and then take a little bit more. Make sure those creases in my forehead are all blended, and then I'm going to add a little bit of this to the center of my forehead, and then with what's left I'm just going to run that along kind of the sides of my nose and the sides of my mouth. And now let's move into bronzer. So I have a lot of good options when it comes to good drugstore bronzers, but one I haven't reached for a while is from Essence. This is their Sun Club Matte Bronzing Powder. I love the Essence face products. I think they are so, so good. You know I love their blushes. You know I love their Pure Nude highlighter. And this is a really good one. It is relatively light and relatively warm. I'm not sure what the shade range is in this. I will find it and link it below for you guys. If you have medium to deep skin, this shade, which is 01 Natural, will definitely not show up very well on you. But if you have more fair skin and you don't mind a warm bronzer, this is a really, really pretty one. It also smells kind of good. Like sweet, sort of coconutty. It's like the color of my, I was gonna say the color of my natural tan. Any tan that is going on here is artificial. I'm actually fortunate that all of this has kind of worn off. I went through a really awkward phase for like 2 weeks where my self tanner that had been building up for a couple of months, just with sporadic use and not properly removing it. Apparently body wash was not doing the trick, but I had some seriously like splotchy patches on my neck. I think I still have like a couple left, but who cares? It's fine. Right, let's go into our highlighter first. And for this, I picked out the Physicians Formula Warm Nude Highlighter. I'm sure you guys have seen this highlighter before. This highlighter reminds me of old school YouTube like 5 or 6 years ago. I know a lot of people were really raving about this. I do love this. I've seen it floating around at Marshall's and TJ Maxx a couple of times over the years. And I've often thought to myself, maybe I should buy a backup just in case I ever run out of that thing, because I don't know that they still sell this. It is a really nice highlighter. It has the potential to be very beaming, but it's a little bit more of a refined highlighter and it doesn't show texture quite as much as other highlighters that are kind of beaming like this. Look at that. So I really just went into this top section right there, like those 6 shades. You definitely can customize this one. If you're a little bit more tan or deep, you can go into these sections over here. I'm gonna add a little bit more. I have nowhere to go tonight. Let's just go crazy with the highlight. So I'm going to take the butt end of my damp sponge. I'm just lightly going to tap that on top of that highlighter just to really press it into the skin. Pull off some of that excess that I maybe got a little too heavy-handed with. And there we go. Ooh, that is so pretty. Okay, blush. I know I've talked about this before. I think in my blush video where I did, was it the blush tag video that I did? In that video, I had mentioned the most pigmented blush in my collection was this one right here from e.l.f. I picked this up in the summertime. It's one of their primer infused shimmer blushes in the shade Always Lucky. This is really bold, definitely more of a medium to deep skin tone blush, I would say, but I do think it's a pretty shade. It's a very fall appropriate shade. I mean, it totally matches my nails and my shirt, but I do want to try using this with a really light hand and see if I can get it to work. I hope I don't mess up what's going on my cheek right now, because I do really like what's happening here so far. But I'm just going to dip the very kind of angled tip of my brush. This is the Real Techniques blush brush, and I'm actually going to tap that on the back of my hand. I just want to be really careful about how much of this I get on my first swipe. I'm just going to lightly dust that on my cheeks. Okay, I can get this to work. One more tap. So again, you can get a blush like this to work for you if you have fair skin and you're afraid of pigmented blushes like this. You just have to be a little bit more careful. Maybe remove some of the product before you actually go onto your cheek. I do love a strongly rosy cheek when it's nice and cold outside too, which incidentally is not today. It's like 83 degrees outside today. Typical Utah swing weather. From shorts to snow in a matter of weeks. Mark my words. Ooh, I love that. I think that is so pretty. Ooh, I'm excited. It's going to go so well with the eyeshadow palette, which, let's get into that next. I picked out this beauty right here. This is from Milani. This is their Pure Passions eyeshadow palette. I literally for months forgot that I even had these palettes. I had the Soft and Sultry palette pulled kind of out of my collection, so I did remember that palette, but I forgot about the other 3 completely. But in the video where I did my top eyeshadow formulas in collaboration with Heather Austin and Miss Melissa M. Melissa mentioned in her video these 4 palettes that Milani did a couple of years ago, and I just thought to myself, those are still such good palettes. There was a long moment here on YouTube where people were raving about these palettes. I'm sure a lot of you guys picked them up as well. I was so excited to get these. That was kind of in the beginning days of my YouTube channel, and this one right here is one of my favorites of the bunch. I think this and the Soft and Sultry would be my top 2 picks from this line. Enough rambling, let's get into the makeup look. I do want to go with something very berry toned. I mean, really, what else is there in this palette? But I really am drawn to this specific shade right here. Oh, it's so pretty. It's like a berry copper. I'm very excited about this. So let's start off by going in with my blending brush. This is the BH Cosmetics Pro Blending No. 6 brush. I can't remember the exact name of this one, but let's start by going into this kind of light pink shade right here. And I'm going to run that up above my crease, kind of build it up right there below my brow bone. How many of you guys still have these palettes hanging around? And for those of you that do, how many of you still use them often? I know a lot of you do. A lot of you guys talk a lot about these palettes in my comment section. I know a lot of other YouTubers still on occasion talk about these. I'm going to take that same shade on this Juvia's Place Small Buffer Brush. This brush, by the way, has been discontinued, which kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say it made me super sad because this is really the only brush from that entire kit, which I think had 8 to 10 brushes in it. This is the only one that I consistently use from that entire kit. There are other brushes that are okay, but there were a lot of brushes in the purple kit that I didn't really love. All right, now I want to dip into the shade next to it, this kind of light tan, and I'm going to take that with my Morphe M514. This brush reminds me a lot of the Refer number 13 and 14 brushes, these ones, but I'm pretty sure it is much more affordable. It's a little bit scratchy, but it does a really good job. It actually reminds me also of the M507. I often talk about this one, but it's a little bit longer, a little bit more loose and fluffy, and that is if it's even still around. I know a couple of brushes that I've tried to link from Morphe somewhat recently have been discontinued, so man, that is, I tell you, that's a full-time job in and of itself, especially after you've been doing YouTube for a couple of years, figuring out which products have been discontinued, because I hate when I talk about a product in a video and I'm like, oh, this is amazing, you guys should all have this, and if you don't have it, go get it, and then I link it, or go to link it, and it's no longer available. Like, it just makes me look very foolish. So I do want to add a little bit of that same color just to the lower lash line, but this one only about halfway across. I really want to do like a nice, rich berry toned eye. Not just rich. Which got me. So now I want to build up some depth. We're going to go into this color right here. I'm going to place that, oh, so pretty, right in this outer corner. This is very pigmented, and that is one thing that Melissa mentioned in her video, and I totally agree with. The deep shades in these palettes, their pigment is like, it will knock your socks off. I would love to know, what are your plans for an alternate Halloween this year? I'm like kind of not sure how Charlie, I know my boys will be fine. They're old enough that we'll be fine as long as we have candy. That's all they care about. But poor Charlie, she's been like so excited to trick or treat, and I'm trying to figure out how are we gonna do this? Like, how are we gonna modify Halloween? In the grand scheme of things, I know it's not the biggest deal in the world, but to a kid, memories of Halloween, and to a mom of a toddler, like, Halloween is like the best. To watch your little kid all dressed up running around the neighborhood with their little basket is, I don't know, for me, one of like my favorite times of the year. But just adding a little bit more, and I'm just gonna run a little bit of that under this lower lash line. All right, let's go into this shade right here. We're gonna add that just with my finger across the center of the lid. Great shade to match my shirt. It's always a good day when your makeup matches your shirt, which matches your nails. I'm just gonna wipe that same finger off, and then that harsh line, I really wanna tap that out, but I don't wanna pull it in any further. So basically I just place my finger where the harsh line is and kind of pull it in the opposite direction. And then we will overlap that with something else. All right, let's just finger swatch really quick these three shimmers right here. Oh, they're so velvety soft. There they are right there. They are all very pretty. Oh, good golly, which one? Let's go with this one right here. Let's go with this corner one that has a little bit more pink in it. There's something about this one that's just so smooth. I think it will go over that other shade really beautifully. Just so loving this look. And this finger is just clean. I'm just tapping right there where those two shadows merge. I really just want that to be nice and blended. I don't want any harsh lines. So I just like to kind of lightly press just so those two shades kind of meld together. Okay, let's add a little bit more depth. I know it's pretty nice and dark in the outer corner, but I do want to try and go in with this deepest shade right here just to see how much more depth we can get out of this one, since I'm really trying to go rich with this look. Let's add this shade just right there at the outer corner. Pulling it down to the lashes and very lightly up to the crease, but not in very far. I'm just keeping it right there at the outside. Oh, I just love this. It's such just a well curated palette. There's good range from light to dark. All the colors blend really well together. Nothing clashes, so you could really pair anything together. I do think these three shades right here are not going to look massively different when they're on your eyes. So for that reason, perhaps I could say it could use a little bit more variety, but I do equally love all three of those shades. And just the richness in here is, this is what I look for in a great palette, is rich shades that go on like this. There's just something about a rich shadow that just gets me very excited, which is why I can't shut up about it. Let's shut up about it now, Mandy. Let's go ahead and add just a tiny bit of this light shimmery champagne right here to my inner corner. I'm going to try and do this with a brush. I actually like doing this with my finger better, but I know not everybody likes that or can do that. So we're going to use my shading brush from Real Techniques. Okay, that works really well. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit of liner. I'm just gonna take my Wet n Wild liner. I'm just gonna add this to my upper waterline. I'll probably add just a little bit to this outer corner of my upper lash line as well. Then I'm gonna put a couple of coats of mascara. Today I picked out this is from Tony Moly. This is their Double Needs mascara. Good one, not as good as the green lid one that I really love, but I do still really like this one. So I'm gonna put both of those on, then I'll be right back and we'll finish off with the brows and the lips. All right guys, here's the finished eye look. Now let's move on to brows. And all I'm gonna do today for brows, I'm gonna put in a little bit of my e.l.f. Brow Wow. I really like this product and I didn't discover how much I liked it until I used this on its own. I actually don't like using tinted brow gels, I have discovered, with a brow pencil. I find they do a little bit better as like standalone products, especially if you want that kind of more natural looking, like feathery, kind of brushed up kind of brow. If you do have a lot of sparseness in your brows, you could definitely apply these and maybe let them set a little bit and then lightly go into your sparse areas with a brow pencil just where you need it. But I've found when I do a brow pencil and a tinted brow product, it's just a little too much for my brows. They just get a little bit too crazy looking. Okay, so that's good for brows. Let's move on to the lips. And for today, I do want to go in with liner first. We're going to take one of my Milani liners. I always forget which one of these has more pink in them, which one is a little bit more peach. This one right here is the shade 04 All Natural. It's this one right there. And then the one next to it is 03 Nude. That's right, 03 Nude is a little bit more pink. So the skinnier one is 04 All Natural. It's a little bit more of like a gray mauve, whereas Nude 03 is a little bit more of like a pink mauve. Honestly, I think either of those would go really well. Let's go with 03, the more pink toned one right there. Take my finger and just lightly feather that line just to blend it a little bit. For my lipstick, I picked out the Wet n Wild lipstick in the shade Mad for Mauve. I love these. I know I've talked a lot about them. They are very, very soft. These aren't ones I would recommend traveling with, like in your purse, because this has actually come off a few times. One of the downfalls of really all Wet n Wild's packaging, but especially because these are so soft, they do kind of, like, if you twist that up at all, this thing's gonna come right off. But I love the formula of these. Love this shade. Let me just swatch it for you guys without the lip liner underneath it so you can kind of see how pretty is that shade. Okay, now that I put that on, I actually don't think I like that. I think it has a little bit too much pink, like too cool of a pink to it, so I'm actually going to wipe that off just a little bit. And instead, same lipstick, different color. This is the shade Close Off. This one is a little bit more of a peach. Let me just swatch these two side by side so you guys can kind of see the difference between the two. There they are right there. So let's do this shade. I think this will go with my eye look a little bit better. Oh yeah, much better. Alright, that looks really good for lipstick. I could totally stop there. These have a good amount of gloss to them, so you really don't need a gloss on top, but I do want to line up the center of my lips just a little bit, and I'm going to do that with the NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Creme Brulee. One of my favorites for this purpose. And there you have it, you guys. This is the finished makeup look. I'm thrilled with this one, especially this eye look. I mean, this is everything that I love in the fall. Berry tones that aren't overly pink, nice and rich, deep color in the outer corner. Huge fan of the Pure Passions palette. I am so excited to keep this on my desk and keep using it over the coming weeks and months. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching me use all of these old favorites, some good affordable makeup. Who does not love affordable makeup? There's just something about a really good performing makeup product that you know didn't cost you an arm and a leg that's just so satisfying. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, hopefully inspired you to dig out some of your old favorites. And that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for stopping by. One more reminder, if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope that you will do that before you leave. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye.
Well, I like it.
You do? Are you so brave?
Yes.
You are?
I am brave of goosebumps.
You're brave of goosebumps, huh? That's cool. Then I'm gonna dip in. Oh boy, here comes somebody. So Wesley footsteps. I recognize those footsteps anywhere. You have a signature foot walk down the stairs. Very specific rhythm. For my lipstick tonight, I picked out, it is night, by the way. It's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which is why I said night. Mandy, who cares? Nobody cares. One more reminder to subscribe before you leave, and that is, no, I said that. Dang it. Palettes, because there was a hot minute. Why did I just say It's very not me. I don't say trendy phrases like that. I'm just not that cool. An effort to try and not do the same face over and over again. They're getting a little bit over the top. Am I right? It is kind of fun to make funny faces at the camera though. Heaven knows I love a little bit of cheesy.